Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing the I'm So Annoyed book tag because it looked like fun. I saw this over on a book fiend named Mel's channel, but the tag was originally created by Books I'm Not Reading, which if you see me looking down here, I have my notes over kind of off to the side. But this just looked like a lot of fun, and you know, who doesn't love a good rant? I thought this would be just a fun tag to do because I wanted something like quick and easy while I'm doing some bulk reading for some other videos. So we're just gonna dive straight into the questions because I think this is gonna be an interesting one to talk about. So the first question is, do publishers ever do things that you find annoying, and share an example? And I can actually think of two things specifically that annoy me personally. And this is one, when publishers rush something out before it's ready. Like, I think I heard some rumblings of this with Fourth Wing, where the second book came out, and people who had loved the first book were really disappointed with the second book, and it had some like major editing issues and pacing issues that should have been fixed prior to publication. And then I saw this personally in Gothicana. I think this is especially a problem when something gets picked up that's an indie book and gets picked up by a publisher. So like with Gothicana, that's already like not a good book to begin with, but it was very clear that Tor's Bramble imprint picked up the book and then didn't give it any additional editing at all, and it really needed it because there were some really obvious errors that would have been really easy to fix, and it was very clear that I had not received that additional editing, and that really annoyed me personally because it was lots of like grammar errors and like consistency errors. One character was constantly referred to as being a PhD student, but then he kept saying he was doing his thesis or his dissertation. My friends and I started calling it the thesertation because those are not the same thing, but it was stuff like that was kind of driving me nuts. The second thing is that I hate it when publishers have bonus chapters in multiple different editions. I think we saw this a lot with whatever the most recent Crescent City book was, House of Flame and Shadow. I actually didn't buy that one. I have not read any of the books in that series, but I remember seeing it announced that there were going to be like 7 different retailer specific editions, and every single one of them had a different bonus chapter, and that just feels like such a kick in the teeth to consumers. Like, you're gonna have to buy 7 different editions of a $30+ book to get all the bonus chapters, or you have to wait for somebody to pirate it and put it online. So I just really find that annoying and just a obvious cash grab in a way that just hurts consumers and makes me not want to pick up a book. Question number 2 is, have you ever been annoyed by a spoiler, even something as simple as someone telling you there's a great twist? I'm sure I have been, because I know I'm one of those people that like gets really frustrated with spoilers, but I actually can't think of a specific example for this one. I just know that I probably have been annoyed by a spoiler at some point in the past. Question number 3 is, have you ever been annoyed by what you discovered in a little free library, a book sale, or a used bookstore? Tell us what you found and why it was so annoying. This is such a little thing, but I find it really annoying when you find like a full series and you're like all excited, you're at a used bookstore or something, and you find like a full series and you buy the whole series, and then you go home and realize that there's like one book missing out of the middle. Like, clearly somebody donated the whole series and somebody else has come in and bought like a single book out of the middle of it, which, like, fine if that was what they needed to finish their collection, but it's always really annoying when you get home and it's like, oh, I thought I had all of them, but I had all but one of them. This actually happened to me twice. This happened actually both for Vampire series. When I bought, many years ago, I bought the full Vampire Chronicles series from like a Goodwill when I was in like middle school or high school, and I guess it was high school, but I got home and realized that like books 6 and 8 or something were missing, and so I had like almost the full Vampire Chronicles series. And then more recently, like last year or earlier this year, I can't remember exactly. No, it was last year because it was last fall. I bought the entire Sookie Stackhouse series, except then I got home and realized that book 8 was missing, so I had to order that one separately, which luckily I found it on Pengo for cheap. But like, it's really annoying when you're like, yes, I found the whole series, and then no, you didn't. Question number 4 is, when it comes to short story collections, are you annoyed if there's a novella in the middle of the collection? For me, that depends on if I know ahead of time that there's a novella in it. Like, if I know when I'm picking something up that there's a novella and some short stories, that's fine because I'm kind of prepared for that. I've managed my expectations that there's going to be a longer story and then a couple of shorter ones. If I go into something and I don't know that there's a novella in it, though, that would be annoying, especially because I like short story collections where I can just like read a single story in a day. So if I went into something and I realized like partway through reading, I'm like, man, the story's really long, and it was a novella, then I'd be kind of annoyed because it would disrupt the rhythm of my reading. And that's just, it's like a silly thing, but like I feel like that would annoy me just if I didn't know about it. Question number 5 is deckled edges. Love them or hate them? Beautiful or annoying? Personally, I love them. I think that's kind of an unpopular opinion. I think they look so charming on a book. I actually love deckled edges, but I think the caveat here is that I tend to turn the page from the top edge or the bottom edge. So for people who typically turn it from the side of the book, I can see why it would be annoying because it's a little bit harder to get a hold of an individual page, but because I tend to turn from the top mostly or occasionally the bottom edge of the page, I don't really have that problem. So for me, I think they're really pretty, but like I understand why other people don't like them. Question number 6, other people's annotations in a used book or a library book. Annoying, or are you okay with it? If it's a library book, absolutely not. Don't do that. That's not your book. Don't write in it. If it's a used book, it kind of depends on the context and what the annotations look like, because I am used to getting like textbooks, or not even like textbooks, but like books I had to read for English classes, where I would get a used copy and I'd have somebody else's annotations. And I actually am totally fine with that. In fact, I even find it interesting to look through and see like what was this other person's thoughts on the story as I'm reading. But it's annoying if the annotations are either like multiple people's annotations and there's just like too much to sift through, or if it's disrupting my ability to read the text. Like if it's obscuring parts of the text. This actually happened to me. I ordered a copy of Merchant of Venice for a class, and I got a used book that somebody had written like in really dark pen, and they just like highlighted like everything, and it made it really hard to focus on and read the text because things were just kind of obscured, and it was just really distracting. So that kind of annotation bothers me, but for like the most part, if it's not obscuring anything as I'm trying to read, I actually like to see what other people thought of the book as I'm reading, because I think it's fun that you have this kind of like conversation between somebody else and the book, and then you're kind of jumping into that conversation. I think that's kind of a fun thing. Question number 7 is if there's a series or a collection of certain kinds of books, like an imprint, and changes are made, are you annoyed or okay with it? If yes, give us an example. I don't care about changes being made mid-series because I have for many years bought most of my books used, so you just like grab whatever they have. Like you're looking for book 2 in a series, they have the mass market and you had like the other ones. I don't care. It's fine. My shelves are not aesthetic. I'm not aiming to have aesthetic shelves. I'm just aiming to have the books on them so that I can read them, and or the books on them that I have read. Actually, I can show you an example. Let me grab a series real quick that I have in like 3 different editions. So hang on. Okay, I'm back, and these are my editions of the Jake Brigance books by John Grisham. John Grisham was one of the earliest like adult writers that I read when I was a kid, because I did this like funny leap between children's fantasy up to legal thrillers. I went from reading like Redwall and Warrior Cats to reading John Grisham, and I specifically started this series in high school because I needed to read a banned book and do a project on it, and it happens to be that A Time to Kill was banned at some point in the past. I don't remember where or when, but A Time to Kill was banned, so I did a project on this book. So I have these 3 separate editions because I bought 2 of these used, and then the last one my mom actually bought new and then gave to me when she was done reading it. I've read A Time to Kill. I've not yet read the other 2 because I feel like I need to go back and reread this one first. But this one is a first edition second printing that I found at my local bookstore that just so happens to also be signed. So I bought it for $2.50. They didn't know what they had, I don't think. I thought that was really cool. So I have this edition of that. And then I have, I think also from the same bookstore, I bought for 5 cents, the like mass market paperback of the second book, Sycamore Row. And then we have the like brand new hardcover of A Time for Mercy, which just came out like a couple of years ago. I think this one came out in like the 80s or 90s, so it's pretty old. Interesting to me that the series was continued after so long, but I really need to go back and read these. But yeah, like this is pretty typical for my shelves. I really don't care about having like different versions of a series. So like even if it's within the same imprint, if they just like change the cover or something, I pretty much don't care because all I really care about is being able to read the book. Question number 8 is, do the decisions of characters in a novel ever annoy you? Share the book and what decisions you found annoying. So many. I think I, like a lot of people, really don't like the miscommunication trope, and that like decisions based on miscommunication always annoy me. I think the one that sticks out the most to me, and I think I'm going to end up using this book again later, because I think I read this book recently and it was really annoying to me just kind of in general. Yeah, so anything born of miscommunication, but specifically I read A Strange and Stubborn Endurance recently, and the villain's whole motive was basically born out of not using their grown-up words and like asking somebody a basic question. And then they were like, let me go on a murderous rampage about it. And so that decision really annoyed me. I really hated the villain's motive for that. But it's typical things like that where somebody either just didn't ask or didn't listen, and it's just miscommunication based. Those I think are the most annoying decisions to me personally. I think I'm going to say to me or for me personally a lot of times in this video, so apologies for that. I've just now noticed that I'm doing it. But yeah, I find that the most annoying. Anytime it's based in we didn't bother to communicate properly. Question number 9, are you ever annoyed by how someone else organizes their books, and what do you find annoying? No. I don't care how other people organize their books. I would be a hypocrite to do that because my organization makes sense to me and me only, because I have random like categorization that's like, these books feel like they go together to me, and I put them on my shelf like that. And every once in a while I change it up. So like my organization doesn't make any sense to anybody who's not me. So I feel like I'd be a hypocrite to not like how somebody else organizes their shelves. Although I have to say I have a thing against rainbow shelves, and it's just because I personally would have trouble finding anything on rainbow shelves. And also the series would be split up, the author, like same author books would be split up. I would hate that. It would drive me nuts. But I don't mind it for like other people. Like I think it would be annoying if I did it, but I don't care if somebody else organizes their books that way. I just would not be able to find anything ever. Question number 10, share something bookish that you find annoying. What did I write down here? Exposition via internal monologue, especially at the beginning of a book. Yeah, that's true. I hate that. I was like, what did past me think was a good answer to this? I think this is a really good example of this is in the From Blood and Ash series. I've been reading that for my friends in my cursed book club thing. And the first book has a scene that is like 70 pages long, and most of it is an internal monologue from the main character expositing about the world, and I hated it. I almost DNF'd the first book because of that. I think I'm one of the rare people that liked the series better as it went on, and a lot of people like it less as it goes on. I think the first book is really boring. I think the second book is really boring. I think the third book is interesting. But the first book I almost DNF'd because of that internal monologue. It's just Poppy thinking about, is that her name, Poppy? I think that's correct. Anyway, Penelope Balfour. I can remember her full name. Anyway, it's just like 70 pages of her thinking about how she's the maiden, the chosen, she's so special, she's not supposed to be out. Anyway, also electric lights are a thing, and that's really weird. It just was really annoying to me, and I was so angry while I was reading that portion of the book. But then I finally got through it. I read the rest of that, and I did eventually make it to the third book. But I think that in particular, when it's just like internal monologue that's just expositing about the world building, because no one, I think, would generally sit and think about like, this is the way that the world I live in works in that kind of way. It just feels really unnatural, and it tends to be very info dumpy, which is just not that pleasant anyway. And I think it's the most annoying way to do world building. After that, we just get to question number 11, which is tag other people. And I actually don't want to tag anyone because I feel like this is a book tag that some people would find annoying. I think this is going to be one that depends on how much you like to rant about stuff. So if you see this video and you think, hey, that looks like fun, I want to think about those questions, I want to answer them, consider yourself tagged, and let me know down in the comments below if you do decide to do this tag, because I'd love to see what your answers to all these questions are. But for now, I think that's all I have for you today, and I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you'll consider giving a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Saturday with the occasional Tuesday video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.